Hello and welcome to the weekly World Climate Change News. And here are the stories making the headlines. Portable drinking water made easy. Youth in Somalia attend to greenhouse farming technologies. Kenya's tea production to drop due to climate change. In Odisha, heatwave traditional cooling mechanisms now ineffective. Increase in natural disasters leads to spike in intentional homicide for women. Mass migration of saiga antelopes to Russia from Kazakhstan. Climate change impacts reproductive health of women in Bangladesh. And Kazakhstan takes measures to implement the country's low-carbon development. And here are the stories in detail. A suitcase-sized portable water device uses less power than a cell phone charger. It can be charged by a portable solar panel. It generates drinking water that exceeds WHO quality requirements. This device is so user-friendly that it runs with the push of one button. Unlike various different portable desalination products that require water to go through filters, this device utilizes electrical power to remove particles from drinking water. Removing the need for replacement filters significantly reduces the long-term maintenance needs. This could enable the device to be utilized in isolated and accurately resource-limited areas. There is food insecurity in Somalia due to conflict, erratic weather changes characterized by extreme droughts and floods. In a bid to combat this food insecurity, Somalia youth are turning to greenhouse farming technologies that use less water and protect their crops from drought. According to the United Nations, in early 2022, millions of people were displaced by severe drought, displacing 25% of the population in search of food and water. East Africa has been facing drought exacerbated by COVID-19 pandemic and the conflict in Ukraine, where they import over 90% of wheat. In the next decade, Kenya's tea production will decrease due to climate change, a phenomenon that will threaten the country's revenues from the crop. Research by Kenyan environmentalists suggests that global warming has resulted in heavy rains and high temperatures, which will affect tea farming in the future. Another report by International Center for Agriculture (CIAT) indicates that by 2050, the total land under tea farming in Kenya will reduce by 42%, with the Rift Valley regions being the most affected. The solution remains for farmers to be trained on new adaptation techniques. Heatwaves that have swept parts of the country have made life difficult, especially for people in the villages who cannot afford air conditioning. Traditional coping mechanisms of the people are gradually failing due to the unprecedented increase in heat waves and heat stress conditions fueled by climate change and local drivers. People are suffering a lot due to growing concrete infrastructures of the cost of vegetation covers, wetlands, and other spaces. A Colombian guy is promoting a new way to do the Internet of Things. This entrepreneur proposes to use plants in pots with the internet in order to have a tool at home to improve how people manage energy at home, like turning off of lights and equipment. The pot is being developed and is going to be used in USA and Colombia with a variety of different indoor plants. According to a new UN research on disaster risk reduction, violence against women and girls increases in the aftermath of natural disasters and in severe circumstances it even takes the form of intentional homicides. This strong correlation between the number of people impacted by disaster and the number of female victims of intentional homicide was found to be highest in Central and South Asia, followed by East and Southeast Asia. Disasters impose additional socioeconomic and psychological strains on affected people, increasing vulnerability through indirect social repercussions. At the end of April, members of the steep expedition of the Russian Geographic Society witnessed a mass migration of saigas across the Russia-Kazakh border. On April 26, there was a mass saiga migration from Kazakhstan, said Professor Sergei Levikin, head of the expedition team of the Russian Academy of Sciences. The mass arrival of saigas in the Saratov region has been observed for the last 2 years, but now the number of migrants exceeds the previous scale. At its peak, there were about 40 to 50,000 saigas in Russia. It is possible that a new record will be set this year. Now, extreme weather events, droughts, and rising sea levels, among other climate-related events, leave millions vulnerable, especially women. An article in Frontiers on Climate presents some agonizing findings from Bangladesh, where authors found that women's reproductive health is increasingly negatively affected during and after climate change-related events. These access constraints grow during and after climate disasters, particularly in countries where these services are already limited even in the absence of these events. This potentially increases the risk of physical, mental, and psychological harm. According to the authors, the first step to preventing gender-based climate change impacts is identifying individuals in order to build capacity and resilience. In 2021, a new version of the Environmental Code of Kazakhstan was adopted. The code provides for the improvement of state regulation of greenhouse gas emissions as well as an annual reduction rate of 1.5% of Kazakhstan carbon budget. By the end of the century, the temperature in the region, according to the head of the department, may increase by 4 to 6 degrees Celsius. According to experts, climate change could lead to extreme precipitation, frequent droughts, which would adversely affect agricultural yields and the accessibility of water resources. They intend to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. Thank you for watching Weekly World Climate Change News. See you next week and goodbye.